Fellow explorers, now that I've had this phone for just about a month, I can say the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is the best cell phone I've ever used for making YouTube videos, and in this video, I'm gonna tell you why. We're first gonna start by looking at the cameras on the phone. We'll talk about the different video features the phone has. We'll take a look at some of the cons, and then I'll conclude with an overall assessment as to whether this phone is a good fit for you. Now, first up, let me tell you about all the different cameras on this phone. There's 5 cameras in total, 4 of them that are here on the back. There's a wide angle, there's a regular zoom, a 3x telephoto zoom, and a 10x zoom. The 10x zoom, those are all optical zooms. This is one of the first phones that has a 10x optical zoom native on it in the Samsung line, and that's really quite unique. On the selfie side, the selfie camera finally shoots in 4K. It shoots 4K 60 frames per second, which is really good. If you like to vlog like this, you can get some high resolution footage finally with the selfie camera. So definitely one of my favorite things about the S21 Ultra is the selfie camera, which makes it great for vlogging. This is held out at about arm's length. I'm walking at a pretty good clip right now with about 40 extra pounds on my back. I'm not using any stabilizer. This is just handheld with the built-in image stabilization, and I think it does a pretty good job. The cameras here, the 4 of them that are on the rear of the phone, they will all shoot in 8K, though it's 8K at 24 frames per second. They don't quite go up to 30 frames per second. The user interface to switch between these different cameras is pretty easy. There's just these little trees on the screen. The one with the 3 trees gives you the wide angle camera. I like this one for shooting landscapes. The 2 trees gives you the 1x zoom. The 3 trees gives you the 3x zoom. And the last one gives you the 10x zoom, which zooms in quite a ways. Though if you do want to change cam, keep on talking, well, you can see it just missed a little bit of what I said as it switched between the selfie camera and the front cameras. The front cameras, you can switch all you want. There is no delay. The 10x camera, really shaky when I zoom. And you can just see it lost a bit of audio when it got to me again. So which is sort of unfortunate because I like to do walking tours where I like you to see a little bit of me. I like you to see a little bit of forward. I just have to remember when I switch the camera that I have to pause for a little bit for it to catch up and start recording audio again. So in daylight shooting overall, I think it shoots pretty good videos, good quality, good color reproduction, good dynamic range. So now you might be asking yourself, Chris, what about at night? Well, at dusk or about sunset, it's also still pretty decent. It's when it gets nighttime that it doesn't have as good results. The video starts to get a bit more grainy. I will say though that at least it stays in focus and it's a lot better than other cell phone cameras I've used. Now, in particular, at night, the 1x and the 3x lenses are the best. The wide angle is a little dark, and the 10x is quite dark. As someone who does a lot of walk and talks, I really appreciate the stabilization on this camera. The footage that comes out of it is quite smooth. The optical stabilization on most of the cameras does well. On the selfie camera, it uses like electronic image stabilization, which is also quite good. I think it rivals the stabilization of those little GoPro cameras, which are so famous for being stable. So now I want to share with you some of the more interesting shooting modes on this phone. The first one is called Director's View. This is new to the Galaxy S21 Ultra. So this is what the Director's View looks like with the regular 1x camera and the selfie mode. I can drag this selfie thing anywhere I want to on it. So I can put me in the corner, I can put me up here. We can switch to a different camera. This is the 3x zoom, and we can also switch to the wide zoom. We can't use the 10x lens in this. And we can also switch the selfie to be the main one. So this is what it looks like if the selfie is the main camera, and then we've got the forward camera up in this. You can see my finger up here dragging it around. You can't do 2 forward cameras. You can just do the selfie camera and then one of those 3 cameras. Now there's a couple other modes for Director's View, but you can't do it on the fly. You have to stop and start. The other mode is is side by side. So in this view, the selfie view is just as big as the front view. This is the 1x camera, this is the 3x camera, and this is the wide angle camera. You will notice that in director's view, the footage is quite shaky because it doesn't seem to do as good of stabilization, or any as far as I can tell, on the cameras that don't have optical stabilization, which is the selfie camera. Next up, let's take a look at portrait video. This is kind of like trying to turn this phone into a mini DSLR to give you that nice blurry background. In this mode, it detects your face, or maybe a second face. It's a little bit sunny where we are right here, and it kind of blurs out the background so it looks like a DSLR. It's got a few modes. You can blur the background even more. This one doesn't work quite as well with two faces, though. It does detect little Explorer's face back there. Then there's color point, which is this, which drowns out all the color in the background except for the color you're wearing. And then there's a mode called glitch, which makes the background look all glitchy, like we're a scene maybe out of the Matrix. Another mode I've had a lot of fun with is super slow-mo. In this mode, the phone shoots 1 second of video at 480 frames per second. It's really fun with the snowball, though to use this mode, it has to be well lit. I've tried this at sunset, at dusk, and it's pretty much unusable. I will point out this mode records at 720p, so in a much lower resolution than the other shooting modes. Now, quite the opposite of slow-mo is hyperlapse, and it's something I used to carry a GoPro around for, but I think the hyperlapse that comes out of this phone does almost as good as that of a GoPro. While you're using it, you can also change between the wide angle and the 1x lenses. The hyperlapse records up to 4K. Another interesting mode on this phone is called single take, where it records between 10 to 15 seconds of video and then creates a ton of other little products around it, from black and white photos to boomerangs to slow motion. Probably not going to be for creating your documentary or interview videos, but if you want to share fun little things on social media, this is a neat mode. Now, if you're going to be using this phone for your primary video shooter, you'll probably be spending a lot of time in the Pro Video mode. In the Pro Video mode, you can change everything about how the camera shoots, including the ISO, the aperture. You can put it into manual focus. You can even turn on focus peaking, which is a pretty neat capability that you don't see in a lot of phones. Although in the Pro mode, it's kind of a drag. It limits the lenses you can use. You can't use all of them. In particular, in the Pro mode, can't access the selfie camera, which I find a bit of a drag. I do particularly like, though, in the Pro mode that it shows you the audio levels on screen, so you can see whether the audio you're recording is actually good, or whether there actually isn't. Now, the Pro Video mode on this phone has a lot of interesting features, particularly when it comes to audio, though Pro Video only works with the front ultra wide and 1x camera, so I'm sort of shooting this blind. I hope it actually looks good. This is the omnidirectional mode, so you hear the same thing from both sides of the camera in theory, but particularly interesting is a mode to be able to use the microphone of a Bluetooth headset. Now in this mode, instead of recording from the microphones on the phone, it records from the microphone on the Bluetooth headset. This is pretty neat because then you can walk around, you can walk far away and still hear yourself pretty good. This is like a super noise canceling headphone. So if you're like, Chris, the audio quality sounds worse right now, well, that's just because that's what this headset does to process the audio. Though theoretically, you should hear less of the ocean noise in the background with the noise reduction on this headset. There's one more mode called Bluetooth Mix. And with Bluetooth Mix, it processes on the microphone of the Bluetooth, and it also processes on the phone itself, so it's getting audio from both places. So if you've got this far away from another sound source, then you can get both at the same time. I will mention that in order to change between the onboard mics, Bluetooth mic, or a connected mic via USB, you have to start and stop the video. You can't do those changes on the fly. Now this is what it sounds like with an external mic plugged in. This is going into a USB to essentially headphone microphone adapter. Can sound much better. And when you just plug it in, the camera app detects it and it just comes up and it says recording through USB microphone. super easy. Now I want to talk about only one photo capability. It's the wide angle selfie capability. It has a button you can press to make it wide angle and you get a pretty good field of view. This is really quite good for taking thumbnail photos. Now, while this phone has a lot of great features, it's not the perfect camera phone and there are a number of cons, so let's roll through them. The first con is in director's view. Director's view is something I was really excited about, but I've found it almost entirely useless because the selfie camera in director's view is not stabilized. So the footage is super shaky if you're walking, which is generally when you want to use director's view, or at least when I want to use director's view. I guess it could be useful on a tripod, but I feel that's not often why you want a phone. You want a phone because it's light and you can spend a lot of time walking around with it. So I hope in the next version, the 22 Ultra, they actually stabilize the selfie camera in director's view. Another one of this phone's flagship features is the 8K video, but it's at the wrong resolution. It's at 24 frames per second and not 30 frames per second, or should I say, it doesn't do both. It only does 24 frames per second. I generally shoot everything in 30 frames per second, and so it's really hard for me to integrate the 8K 24 frames per second into it. Also, the 8K footage, while it's high resolution, isn't that sharp and doesn't seem like the quality is that great. So I think the 8K footage is much more of a gimmick than something that people are actually going to use. Now, speaking of that high resolution footage, on the phone, it provides a number of editing capabilities, which are generally quite good, but only if you're editing HD or 1080p video. If you're editing 4K or 8K video, a lot of the features of the built-in editor on the phone just don't work or don't work right, particularly if you're splicing video together. Like, let's say you've got 3 video files, you want to put them together in one clip. The phone will only do that to produce a final HD clip, not a 4K clip or an 8K clip. Speaking of resolutions, it also shoots in kind of a weird frame rate when you select 30 frames per second. It shoots in 30.011 frames per second. NTSC is 29.97 frames per second, so when I combine this video with the video from my Sony cameras, it just looks a little weird because the frame rates don't match up perfectly. I'm not sure why it has quite that little odd frame rate. Not a big deal if you're only shooting from the Samsung phone and you're getting video just from the Samsung phone with and of other Samsung videos, but if you're combining it with a Sony camera or a Canon camera, then the frame rate doesn't match up perfectly, so you get a bit more motion blur when you're making that combined video. Now, this con might seem kind of weird, but it's true. With 5 cameras on the phone, there's a lot of cameras to keep clean and wipe the fingerprints off of. When you only have one camera, it's easy to look at that one and see if the lens is smudgy. Now there's a lot of different lenses you have to clean the fingerprints off of. And the final con is that, oh, it's expensive. The launch price of this phone is $1,299 for the base model. Goes up from there if you want more onboard storage memory. So if you're thinking getting this phone would be a cheap way to record videos, probably not. Now, before I get to the summary, let me just share a few accessories you might want to consider getting along with your 21 Ultra if you are considering this as your primary shooter. The first one is some sort of gimbal to really get stabilized footage. I like the DJI Osmo Mobile 4. This is the best gimbal I've used with cell phones. I particularly like that it has this magnetic clip that just makes it really easy to put this on, and then it just magnetically clips right in there. Now, if you're going to be recording any scenes where audio is important, like people talking, you'll want to get a decent external microphone. My favorite is the Rode VideoMic NTG. This one has a USB output. It connects via USB to the phone. The phone detects it right away. It has some pretty good noise cancellation, and it has a rechargeable battery, but the best thing about this microphone is it turns on when it's connected to the phone and turns off as soon as it's disconnected, so you don't end up wasting the battery or forgetting to turn the microphone on. Now, with an external microphone, you will need to mount it somehow, and so I like the Joby Grip Pro Mount 2. This one really is sturdy, especially if you hit it. It has a little arm that you can attach to it, so you get everything kind of all together. Makes it easy to carry around, and it's not flimsy. There's a lot of other cheap cell phone mounts on Amazon, but they'll break, your phone will fall off, and your microphone will fall off, and when you've spent $1,300 on your phone and you've spent $250 on a microphone, you want to make sure it stays attached when you hit it around a little bit. And finally, if you're doing videos that aren't just walking videos, but where you'll want the camera to be really steady, you'll want to invest in a good tripod. One of my favorite travel light tripods is the Manfrotto Be Free. Pretty light and is perfect to mount the Joby mount on top. Okay, so now let me give you my overall summary. First question is, will the Galaxy S21 Ultra become my primary shooter? And it probably won't, because I've got a lot of cameras and I like to shoot fairly high quality, fancy videos, and frankly, the dedicated cameras provide more capability. Now, I will be using this to make certain videos, in particular, things that I want to travel light, particularly places I want to go to where I don't want to be carrying gear that looks professional. For example, if I'm shooting in a supermarket or if I'm shooting in a casino in Las Vegas, this draws no attention, whereas a big camera setup draws a lot of attention. I also like the S21 Ultra on a gimbal on the DJI Osmo Mobile 4. It works very well for walking tours, so you'll definitely be seeing plenty more walking tours from me shot entirely on the S21 Ultra. Now, another great pro of this is that it goes everywhere I go. It's small enough that it fits in my pocket, and it's in my pocket everywhere I am, which means if there's something I want to capture, I just take this out and I capture it. I don't have to go get my camcorder and then come back to shoot it. So this is really good for getting B-roll or scenes at restaurants. It has good color, it has good audio, and it also does well in tall mode. So I've been shooting my YouTube shorts using this phone, and it just makes a really easy workflow. I shoot right on the phone, I can edit it, I can change the color on the phone, and then I can upload it straight to YouTube. I never have to put it on my computer into an editing application. So if you're kind of afraid of using your computer to edit things, you're just getting started, want to do all your video right from the phone, you can absolutely do it on this one. So the final question is, would I buy this again? I would buy it again. I am very happy with it. Now, another camera you might be interested in if you want a small dedicated camera is the Sony ZV-1. If you haven't checked out my review of that camera, you can check it out right here, or you'll find a link in the description below. As usual, I won't say goodbye because I'll see you over in this video.